हे एवरीवन, इसमें हमसे एंड यू आर वाचिंग एच टी रेट्स। वेलकम बैक टू द चैनल। कैसे हैं आप सब? ठीक ठाक हैं, उम्मीद करता हूँ अच्छे होंगे, खैर खैरियत से होंगे। आज हम रिएक्ट करने वाले हैं एक सीरीज़ पे जिसका टाइटल है टेनाली आर के सीरीज़ एपिसोड 1 द यूनिवर्स प्लान। हमें इसकी काफ़ी बार रिक्वेस्ट आई थी और पेंडिंग में इसलिए था क्योंकि इसकी लेंथ बहुत ज़्यादा है। आज भी हमने कोशिश करनी है कि एक ही वीडियो में हम पूरा एपिसोड कर लें, अदरवाइज़ हमें स्प्लिट करना पड़ेगा दो वीडियोस में। रूटीन और काम वाम है। तो आइए वीडियो देख लेते हैं, ज़्यादा देर नहीं करते। मुझे कोई वाक़या लग रहा है, लेकिन वो एनिमेटेड वे में दिखाया जा रहा है। तो देखते हैं, शुरू करते हैं। 3 2 1 एंड गो।
Of all the souls that walk on this Mother Earth, there is just a handful that would actually stand for her. These are dark times where man is man's biggest foe. Even when the sun comes up, these Rakshasas are roaming freely. Despite all such, of all the possible permutations and combinations of people I could meet, I had the opportunity to meet and know this blessed divine soul. Just remember, when you learn about an enlightened being, your regular logic doesn't apply to that person.
ये तो है।
Today's tale is of RK and I, total strangers who turned into blood brothers. This is Krishna Dev Roy, chairperson of Pratyangara Group, and this is our story.
म्यूज़िक सस्पेंसफुल है, इसमें आज और कल, बीते हुए कल का भी जिक्र हमें देखने को नज़र आ रहा है। मतलब जो इमेजेस आई हैं, वाह, क्रिएटिव वर्क्स इन एसोसिएशन विद स्ट्रिंग्स। तेनाली आरके एपिसोड 1 द यूनिवर्स प्लान।
RK's life has never been easy. Gravity did extra work on him.
Okay.
Right after he was born, the doctor dropped him.
Oh.
Then his aunt, his uncle later. RK's grandfather picked him up and scolded the people that kept dropping the baby. While yelling at them, his shaky hands dropped him again. You can't blame them, you know. There was an instance where he escaped and fell down the cradle on his own once. People were scared to pick him up because they kept dropping. Birds started orbiting his head. While the earth was rotating along its own axis, his brain started rotating in opposite direction. He couldn't count 2 and 2 because he started seeing 4 and 4. In other words, he was born as a character that Sadhguru would call Shankaran Pillai. But his parents called him Ramakrishna because every time he fell down, someone would scream Rama Rama or Krishna Krishna. His family hailed from the small town Tenali but then migrated to Devapur. Their family name soon turned into Tenali. Thus was born my very dumb friend Tenali RK.
Okay.
In the meanwhile, I was a baby born with a silver spoon. My father Vikram Roy and my mother Radhe Roy were textile merchants. She was a devotee of Krishna. While my father wanted to name me after his father Devendra Roy, my mother wanted to name me after Krishna. Thus I come Krishna Dev Roy. From an early age, I was taught the value of Indian textiles, the uniqueness and fineness of it. This influence later built a knack for everything that is Indian deep within me. When you look at the world, people value art the best. Paint exhibitions, antique collections, sculptures and such are regarded the most, and it's a billion-dollar industry. But in our nation, sadly, the artists struggle quite much because of least or no encouragement. There is an ocean of talent, but only a stream of opportunities. Hence I established Pratyangara Art Gallery, named after the family business Pratyangara Textiles. Though this was a very minute part of the Pratyangara group, my interests always lay in the art gallery the most, as this is not just an art collection, but my nation's heritage. I'm a proud holder of 17,000 paintings by contemporary artists, 1,800 antiques, and 7 paintings that age at least 700 years.
Okay.
Till now, my initiative has fed at least 1,000 artists and their families. When all was fine, something terrible had happened at our gallery. Our grandest exhibition of all such great art was supposed to be in 6 months. Beating the top-tech security that we had installed for the antique paintings, a bunch of robbers breached my gallery. Of all the 7, 4 paintings were successfully stolen, while the 5th painting gave out an alarm. Before any of my security could do anything, the miscreants had fled with 4 paintings that cumulatively cost 17 crores. More than the cost, they were a cultural heritage meant for the world to witness. Many guests, including international delegates, would have seen a failure not just on my part but the country's. Neither could we announce an official complaint alarming the investors for the event, nor could we carry out the whole investigation on our own. I needed help. Just my power was not sufficient to drag me out of the mess that was created. I looked
क्या
up to the
एक्चुअली भी हुआ
skies
था ऐसा
begging for
कुछ?
a savior. I could just sigh and hope that the universe had a plan.
ओके।
And it did. RK was working as a painter. No, not artistic. He was just painting the walls of Devapur. A few kids were in a habit of throwing eggs at him. Few grown educated idiots had their ego satisfied by drenching him in paint. No matter
इंसानी
what,
फितरत।
RK wouldn't utter a curse against these. He was such a blissful soul who would naturally wash off dirt thrown at him. All that mattered to him was the paint that he did, the colors, the mix of it. Seeing his condition and the low pay he requires, every house in town would hire him for repaints every once in a year or so. It so happened that, right in the middle of the day, the cloud of need that I had in my darkest hour traveled all the way to RK's village. RK was generally painting a public wall commissioned by the local municipality. The lightnings in the sky scared RK. His mother taught him to think of Arjuna when in fear. He started chanting the various names of the said warrior. Arjuna, Phalguna, Kiriti, he went on mumbling while painting. His intelligence did not tell him to stop and seek shelter as a huge rain was about to drop. Few well educated adults surrounded him, teasing him for his dumbness and drenched him in the red paint as usual. They mocked him for not taking shelter and they went their way to hide their heads. This time, RK was both scared and humiliated, arising a different level of frustration. The thunders roared. He shouted back at the thunders to stop screaming at him. The thunders roared yet again. He yelled back. This went on for quite a while. Even street dogs were strangely watching this man, barking at the thunders. He looked up at the mountain that was close to the clouds. He challenged the clouds and the thunders to stay right there and that he was coming for them. They roared back. RK started climbing the mountain. To his astonishment, the clouds were still over his head, roaring at him. It got scarier. More the steps he took, more the insults he remembered from all his life. Every thunder gave his mind grief. The very air that blew burdened his chest with memories of disgrace. The flashes in the skies reminded him of all the people that laughed at him. By the time he reached the mountain top, he began hating his whole life. In front of him stood a vast temple, almost demolished. He knew not of this, for he never had the need to climb this mountain. Neither did most of the people from the village, except to collect fruits and vegetation. RK walked close to the cliff, near to which stood the shrine of goddess Kali, almost in ruins. Her eyes were closed, which was unusual for a Kali idol. He decided to jump and end his misery. The mockery that the sky did frustrated him enough to end his life, but his weak heart was scared to do the act. He closed his eyes. He remembered the story told by his mother. Arjuna, the warrior, during his exile, had to fetch alms. During one such rainy day, a lightning dare hit him, but being a master of Atharvana Veda, Arjuna could pack the thunders into his bag, scaring Varunadeva, the god of rains. Arjuna was apologized to, and the thunders were released back. RK started reciting Arjuna's multiple names. For gaining such courage, ignore the thunders and jump. Arjuna, Phalguna, Kiriti, Partha, Svetavahana, Bhibhatsa, Vijaya, Krishna, Savyasachi, Dhanunjaya. He went on. He looked down the steep valley and was about to jump. A lightning hit a dead tree that was quite close to him, lighting it on fire. The force threw him right into the Kali shrine through a broken wall. He hit his head for the last time at goddess Kali's feet. He fell unconscious.
और अब चेंज
The
आएगा।
skies cleared
Now
slowly.
is the time for
It took a while,
planets.
but RK woke up to see the burning tree. Something very elemental had changed about him. He just sat there gazing at the flames. His whole body started feeling heavy. So heavy that he couldn't move his fingers. As if the burden of the universe rested on his shoulders, his flesh felt pressure. Watching the flames dazzle to the wind made his heart soothe. Then he began feeling lighter and lighter until he felt as if he were a cotton ball. All the pain, all the sorrow, emotions that
Everything
he
is
burdened
gone.
upon himself began to release. He had learned to let go. That was it. In his own words, it was a moment of enlightenment for that soul. He spent hours watching the tree burn down to ashes. And then he did not need fire to stay in the state of samadhi. He became a natural. 3 days passed by. Who would worry about him? Not his dead parents, not the taunting village that only used him for his cheap rates. RK didn't move from where he sat. Slowly, his eyes shifted from the eternal blue he was gazing into towards the idol of Kali. Seeing her eyes closed, he felt puzzled. His senses started coming back. He felt human again. Thus came unbearable hunger. He wanted to find something to eat, but his physical body has succumbed to weakness. An hour passed by as he wished someone could come and tend to his hunger. He started hearing anklets.
काइंड ऑफ इंटरेस्टिंग होते जा
He
रहे हैं.
crawled out of the shrine to see who it was, with what energy he had left. A lady in a red sari was walking across the rubbles of the temple with a herd of cattle marching to graze. He screamed with the highest voice possible. She turned to him, looked at his pitiful condition, and came to him. He begged her to give him some food. She gazed for moments at him and offered 2 cans to him. Opening them, he found one with milk and another with curd. RK mumbled that he was lactose intolerant. The lady laughed and apparently replied, "You know not, but you actually have the habit of drinking both together." RK was taken aback. He asked if they knew each other. She only smiled at him and asked him to consume the only food she carried with her. She told him once he gained energy, he could collect what fruits he may find on the mountain. RK, helpless, fed his stomach with both. He thanked the lady, took his time, and began to walk to the orchards of the mountain. He spent about a month surviving on fruits and vegetation, spending most of his time sitting in a state of samadhi. I was always forced to learn Jack and Jill went up the hill. I was never taught of the miraculous mountains of India. Had I known, I would have happily exchanged places with RK. To start afresh, he packed what little luggage and torn clothes he had and set to travel to the city. He demanded and strongly stood his ground to collect every last penny the villagers had to pay him. He followed the birds in the sky that migrated for food in the monsoons. Absent the wings, he felt more liberated than these flying things. He had made up his mind to make a name and earn. He knew he was not the same, but how
एक
different
सिंगल
only time would let him
वाक्य
know.
ने
The first
बंदा
test
ही
was
चेंज
already
कर दिया
here.
है.
My company's advert for the exhibition had already begun even before the theft. We had distributed paper ads, pamphlets, and whatnot to attract donations and investors for the international art exhibit. One such pamphlet was handed over to him as he bought samosa in the heart of the city. What caught his eyes was the photo of antique painting of goddess Kali's idol with closed eyes. This image was very clear to him.
क्योंकि वैसा
He
ही
knew
होगा.
where this was from.
हाँ.
He knew all the series of events had a deeper meaning. He set out to meet the owner of the Pratingira Art Gallery, which happened to be me. It was such a busy day. My private informers had no leads on the burglary. The date was nearing. Less than 5 months to the exhibition, my soul started shivering for the consequences of losing 4
What will
paintings.
happen?
At such an hour came a direct request from HR that some idiot was looking for a job. I yelled, of course, because this HR would bring me every nonsensical request from any Tom, Dick, and Harry. He insisted that this person had information about the Kali painting. I jumped onto my feet and wondered if this would lead to the thefts. The HR took me to the stranger at my door. "What do you know of the Kali painting?" I asked. "I'm from where it was painted," he replied. "I think I know why her eyes are closed." I was intrigued. There was a charm in this bearded man, power in his eyes. I knew the universe would have a plan. I stepped forward, shook his hands. "Krishna Dev Roy," I said, introducing myself. "Tenali Ramakrishna. You may call me RK," he said. At the very moment, we realized at a later part of our story that the attached eyelids on goddess Kali idol had dropped down. It was in a way as if she opened her big, angry eyes.
एपिसोड 2 देखना पड़ेगा जनाब. इट वाज अ वेरी वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग स्टोरी. अब पता नहीं काल्पनिक है या बनाई हुई है, लेकिन इसमें स्टोरी है. क्योंकि देखें, एक बंदा जिसने सारी ज़िंदगी जो है वो लोगों की हेट देखी हो, वो जो है ना, एक ऐसा दिन आया, एक ऐसा वक्त आया कि ही वॉज अबाउट टू एंड हिज लाइफ. बट आप कह लें कि तकदीर को कुछ और मंजूर था, और एक एक लाइटनिंग की वजह से वो मंदिर में गिरे. उनका सर जो है वो गॉडेस के जो स्टैचू है उसके पाँव से टकराया, एंड देन ही इज़ गॉन अनकॉन्शियस. और उसके बाद फिर जब वो उठता है, वो देखता है, और बहुत सारी चीज़ें उसके अंदर बदल जाती हैं. सो यू नेवर नो आपके साथ कब क्या हो जाए, और कभी मायूस नहीं होना चाहिए. ऊपर वाले का कोई ना कोई प्लान होता है आपके लिए. और 3-4 दिन बाद, अब मुझे तो ये लग रहा है कि वो जो ऑफ़र हुआ था मिल्क, वो भी शायद सम एनलाइटेंड बीइंग हो. कुछ कह नहीं सकते. लेकिन एपिसोड 2 देखना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि जिस जो पेंटिंग चोरी हुई है, जो आर के है उसने वो ही पेंटिंग क्या, उसने वो पूरी स्टैचू देखा है। सो बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग होगा देखना। मैं ज़्यादातर टाइम खामोश इसलिए था क्योंकि आई वाज लाइक प्रोसेसिंग द थॉट्स एंड विजुअल इंफॉर्मेशन जो भी मिल रही थी, ताकि हम अच्छी तरह से समझ सकें। और अब एपिसोड 2 देखना मस्ट है। नाउ आई नो कि वो कितना इंसिस्ट क्यों कर रहे थे मैं इसको देखूं, क्योंकि बड़ी मज़ेदार स्टोरी लग रही है जी। तो एपिसोड 2 के साथ हाजिर होंगे, तब तक के लिए अपना ख्याल रखिएगा। सी यू गाइस।